All right. Time to read more of The Last Witch. Witcher Saga book number 1. Part 4. There was someone in his little attic room. Geralt knew it before he even reached the door, sensing it through the barely perceptible vibration of his medallion. He blew out the oil lamp which had lit his path up the stairs, pulled the dagger from his boot, slipped it into the back of his belt, and pressed the door handle. The room was dark, but not for a witcher. He was deliberately slow in crossing the threshold. He closed the door behind him carefully. The next second, he dived at the person sitting on his bed, crushed them into the linen, forced his forearm under their chin, and reached for his dagger. He didn't pull it out. Something wasn't right. "Not a bad start," she said in a muffled voice, lying motionless beneath him. "I expected something like this, but I didn't think we'd both be in bed so quickly. Take your hand from my throat, please." "It's you." "It's me. Now, there are 2 possibilities. I don't know who this is, so I don't know what kind of voice. The first, you get off me and we talk. The second, we stay in this position, in which case I'd like to take my boots off at least." The Witcher released the girl, who sighed, sat up, adjusted her hair and skirt. "Light the candle," she said. "I can't see in the dark unlike you, and I like to see who I'm talking to." She approached the table, tall, slim, agile, and sat down, stretching out her long legs in their high boots. She wasn't carrying any visible weapons. "Have you got anything to drink here?" "No." "Then it's a good thing I brought something," she laughed, placing a traveling wineskin and 2 leather tumblers on the table. "It's nearly midnight," Geralt said coldly. "Shall we come to the point?" "In a minute. Here, have a drink. Here's to you, Geralt." "Likewise, Shrike." "My name's Renfrey, damn it." She raised her head. "I will permit you to omit my royal title, but stop calling me Shrike." "Be quiet or you'll wake the whole house. Am I finally going to learn why you crept in here through the window?" "You're slow-witted, Witcher. I want to save Blaviken from slaughter. I crawled over the rooftops like a she-cat in March in order to talk to you about it. Appreciate it." "I do," said Geralt. "Except that I don't know what talk can achieve. The situation's clear. Stregobor is in his tower, and you'd have to lay siege to it in order to get to him." Oh, right. Okay. So this is like the girl who is in charge of the bandits, and the wizard guy thinks that she's like the daughter of like the Eclipse or something and is all evil. So that's where we are. Geralt is now talking to Renfrey. They had met in like the inn before, but Stregobor wants to kill her, basically. "Stregobor is in his tower, and you'd have to lay siege to it." Oh, I'm this girl. "And you'd have to lay siege to it in order to get to him. If you do that, your letter of safe conduct won't help you. Audouin won't defend you if you openly break the law. The aldermen, guards, the whole of Blaviken will stand against you." "The whole of Blaviken would regret standing up to me." Renfrey smiled, revealing a predator's white teeth. "Did you take a look at my boys? They know their trade, I assure you. Can you imagine what would happen in a fight between them and those dimwit guards who keep tripping over their own hellbirds?" "Do you imagine I would stand by and watch a fight like that? I'm staying at the Elderman's, as you can see. If the need arises, I should stand at his side." "I have no doubt," Renfrey grew serious, "that you will. But you'll probably be alone, as the rest will cower in the cellars. No warrior in the world could match 7 swordsmen. So, Whitehair, let's stop threatening each other. As I said, slaughter and bloodshed can be avoided. There are 2 people who can prevent it. I'm all ears." "One," said Renfrey, "is Stregobor himself. He leaves his tower voluntarily, I take him to a deserted spot, and Blaviken sinks back into blissful apathy and forgets the whole affair. Stregobor may seem crazy, but he's not that crazy. Who knows, Witcher, who knows? Some arguments can't be denied, like the Tridem ultimatum. I plan to present it to the sorcerer." "What is it, this ultimatum?" "That's my sweet secret." "As you wish, but I doubt it'll be effective. Stregobor's teeth clatter when he speaks of you. An ultimatum which would persuade him to voluntarily surrender himself into your beautiful hands would have to be pretty good. So, who's the other person? Let me guess. I wonder how sharp you are, Whitehair." "It's you, Renfrey. You'll reveal a truly princely, what am I saying, royal magnanimity and renounce your revenge. Have I guessed?" Renfrey threw back her head and laughed, covering her mouth with her hand. Then she grew silent and fixed her shining eyes on the Witcher. Geralt, she said, I used to be a princess. I had everything I could dream of. Servants at my beck and call, dresses, shoes, cambric knickers, jewels and trinkets, ponies, goldfish in a pond, dolls in a doll's house bigger than this room. That was my life until Stregobor and that whore, Eridea, ordered a huntsman to butcher me in the forest and bring back my heart and liver. Lovely, don't you think? No. I'm pleased you evaded the huntsman, Renfri. Like shit I did. He took pity on me and let go, after the son of a bitch raped me and robbed me. Geralt, fiddling with his medallion, looked her straight in the eyes. She didn't lower hers. That was the end of the princess, she continued. The dress grew torn, the cambric grew grubby, and then there was dirt, hunger, stench, stink, and abuse. Selling myself to any old bum for a bowl of soup or a roof over my head. Do you know what my hair was like? Silk, and it reached a good foot below my hips. I had it cut right to the scalp with sheep shears when I caught lice. It's never grown back properly. She was silent for a moment, idly brushing the uneven strands of hair from her forehead. I stole rather than starved to death. I killed to avoid being killed myself. I was locked in prisons which stank of urine, never knowing if they would hang me in the morning or just flog me and release me. And through it all, my stepmother and your sorcerer were hard on my heels, with their poisons and assassins and spells. And you want me to reveal my magnanimity? To forgive him royally? I'll tear his head off royally first. Eridea and Stregobor tried to poison you? With an apple seasoned with nightshade. I was saved by a gnome, and then a medic I thought would turn my insides out. But I survived. Was that one of the 7 gnomes? Renfri, pouring wine, froze, holding the wineskin over the tumbler. Ah, she said. You do know a lot about me. Yes, do you have something against gnomes? Or humanoids? They were better to me than most people, not that it's your business. Stregobor and Eridea hunted me like a wild animal as long as they could, until I became the hunter. Eridea died in her own bed. She was lucky I didn't get to her earlier. I had a special plan for her, and now I've got one for the sorcerer. Do you think he deserves to die? I'm no judge. I'm a witcher. You are. I said that there were 2 people who could prevent bloodshed in Blaviken. The second is you. The sorcerer will let you into the tower. You could kill him. Renfri, said Geralt calmly. Did you fall off the roof onto your head on the way into my room? Are you a witcher or aren't you, damn it? They say you killed a Kikimora and brought it here on a donkey to get a price for it. Stregobor is worse than the Kikimora. It's just a mindless beast which kills because that's how the gods made it. Stregobor is a brute, a true monster. Bring him to me on a donkey and I won't begrudge you any sum you care to mention. I'm not a hired thug, Shrike. You're not, she agreed with a smile. She leaned back on the stool and crossed her legs on the table, without the slightest effort to cover her thighs with her skirt. You're a witcher, a defender of people from evil. And evil is the steel and fire which will cause devastation here if we fight each other. Don't you think I'm proposing a lesser evil? A better solution? Even for that son of a bitch Stregobor. You can kill him mercifully with one thrust. He'll die without knowing it, and I guarantee him quite the reverse. Geralt remained silent. Renfri stretched, raising her arms. I understand your hesitation, she said, but I need an answer now. Do you know why Stregobor and the king's wife wanted to kill you? Renfri straightened abruptly and took her legs off the table. It's obvious, she snarled. I am heir to the throne. Eridea's children were born out of wedlock and don't have any right to? No. Renfri lowered her head, but only for a moment. Her eyes flashed. Fine. I'm supposed to be cursed. Contaminated in my mother's womb. I'm supposed to be... Yes. A monster. And are you? For a fleeting moment she looked helpless, shattered, and very sad. I don't know, Geralt, she whispered. Then her features hardened again. Because how am I to know, damn it? When I cut my finger, I bleed. I bleed every month, too. I get a bellyache when I overeat, and a hangover when I get drunk. When I'm happy, I sing, and when I swear, when I'm sad. When I hate someone, I kill them, and when... But enough of this! Your answer, Witcher. My answer is no. You remember what I said? She asked after a moment's silence. There are offers you can't refuse. The consequences are so terrible, and this is one of them. Think it over. I have thought carefully, and my suggestion was as serious. Renfrey was silent for some time, fiddling with a string of pearls wound round 3 times around her shapely neck, before falling teasingly between her breasts, their curves just visible through the slit of her jacket. Geralt, she said, did Stregobor ask you to kill me? Yes. He believed it was the lesser evil. Can I believe you refused him as you have me? You can. Why? Because I don't believe in a lesser evil. Renfrey smiled faintly, an ugly grimace in the yellow candlelight. You don't believe in it, you say. Well, you're right, in a way. Only evil and greater evil exist, and beyond them, in the shadows, lurks true evil. True evil, Geralt, is something you can barely imagine. Even if you believe nothing can still surprise you. And sometimes true evil seizes you by the throat, demands that you choose between it and another, slightly lesser evil. What's your goal here, Renfrey? Nothing. I've had a bit to drink and I'm philosophizing. I'm looking for general truths, and I found one. Lesser evils exist, but we can't choose them. Only true evil can force us to such a choice, whether we like it or not. Maybe I've not had enough to drink. The Witcher smiled sourly. And in the meantime, midnight's passed, the way it does. So let's speak plainly. You're not going to kill Stregobor and Blaviken because I'm not going to let you. I'm not going to let it come to a slaughter here. So, for a second time, renounce your revenge. Prove to him, to everyone, that you're not an inhuman and bloodthirsty monster. Prove he has done you great harm through his mistake. Water time. For a moment, Renfrey watched the Witcher's medallion spinning as he twisted the chain. And if I tell you, Witcher, that I can neither forgive Stregobor nor renounce my vengeance, then I admit that he is right. Is that it? I'd be proving that I am a monster cursed by the gods. You know, when I was still new to this life, a freeman took me in. He took a fancy to me, even though I found him repellent. So every time he wanted to fuck me, he had to beat me so hard I could barely move, even the following day. One morning I rose while it was still dark and slashed his throat with a scythe. I wasn't yet as skilled as I am now, and a knife seemed too small. And as I listened to him gurgle and choke, watched him kicking and flailing, I felt the marks left by his feet and fists fade. And I felt, so great that I left him, whistling, sprightly, feeling so joyful, so happy. And it's the same each time. If it wasn't, who'd waste time on revenge? Renfrey, said Geralt, whatever your motives, you're not going to leave here joyful and happy. But you'll leave here alive. Early tomorrow morning, as the alderman ordered. You're not going to kill Stregobor and Blaviken. Renfrey's eyes glistened in the candlelight, reflecting the flame. The pearls glowed in the slit of her jacket. The wolf medallion spinning round on its chain sparkled. I pity you, she said slowly, gazing at the medallion. You claim a lesser evil doesn't exist. You're standing on a flagstone running with blood, alone and so very lonely because you can't choose, but you had to. And you'll never know. You'll never be sure if you were right. And your reward would be a stoning and a bad word. I pity you. And you? Asked the Witcher quietly, almost in a whisper. I can't choose either. What are you? I am what I am. Where are you? I'm cold. Renfrey! Geralt squeezed the medallion tightly in his hand. She tossed her head as if waking up, and blinked several times, surprised. For a very brief moment, she looked frightened. You've won, she said sharply. You win, Witcher. Tomorrow morning I'll leave Blaviken and never return to this rotten town. Never. Now pass me the wineskin. Her usual derisive smile returned as she put her empty tumbler back on the table. Geralt, I'm here. That bloody roof is steep. I prefer to leave at dawn than fall and hurt myself in the dark. I'm a princess and my body's delicate. I can feel a pee under a mattress. As long as it's not, well, stuffed with straw, obviously. How about it? Renfrey. Geralt smiled despite himself. Is that really befitting of a princess? What do you know about princesses, damn it? I've lived as one, and the joy of it is being able to do as you like. Do I have to tell you straight out what I want? Geralt, still smiling, didn't reply. I can't believe you don't find me attractive, Renfrey grimaced. Are you afraid you'll meet the Freeman's sticky fate? Eh, Whitehair? I haven't got anything sharp on me. Have a look for yourself. She put her legs on his knees. Pull my boots off. A high boot is the best place to hide a knife. Barefoot, she got up, tore at the buckle of her belt. I'm not hiding anything here either. Or here, as you can see. Put that bloody candle out. Outside, in the darkness, a cat yelled. Renfrey? What? Is this cambric? Of course it is, damn it. Am I a princess or not? Part 5. Daddy, Marilka nagged monotonously. When are we going to the market? To the market, Daddy. Quiet, Marilka, grunted Caldemain, wiping his plate with his bread. So what were you saying, Geralt? They're leaving? Yes. I never thought it would end so peacefully. They had me by the throat with that letter from Audouin. I put on a brave face, but to tell you the truth, I couldn't do a thing to them. Even if they openly broke the law, started a fight. Even if they did, Audouin's a very touchy king. He sends people to the scaffold on a whim. I've got a wife, a daughter, and I'm happy with my office. I don't have to worry where the bacon will come from tomorrow. It's good news that they're leaving. But how and why did it happen? Daddy, I want to go to the market. Lebush, take Marilka away. Geralt, I asked Centurion, the Golden Court's innkeeper, about that Novigradian company. They're quite a gang. Some of them were recognized. Yes? The one with the gash across his face is Nohorn, Abergard's old adjutant from the so-called Free Angren Company. You'll have heard of them. That Hulk they call 15 was one of theirs too, and I don't think his nickname comes from 15 good deeds. The half-elf is Serval, a brigand and professional murderer. Apparently he had something to do with the massacre at Tridham. Where? Tridham, didn't you hear of it? Everyone was talking about it 3 years ago. The Baron of Tridham was holding some brigands in his dungeon. Their comrades, one of whom was a half-blood Serval, seized a river ferry full of pilgrims during the Feast of Nis. They demanded the Baron set those others free. The Baron refused, so they began murdering pilgrims one after another. By the time the Baron released his prisoners, they'd thrown a dozen pilgrims overboard to drift with the current. And following the deaths, the Baron was in danger of exile or even of execution. Some blamed him for waiting so long to give in, and others claimed he committed a great evil in releasing the men and setting a precedent or something. One sec, let me get some water. The gang should have been shot from the banks, together with the hostages, or attacked on the boats. He shouldn't have been given an inch. At the tribunal, the Baron argued he'd had no choice. He'd chosen the lesser evil to save more than 25 people, women and children, on the ferry. The Tridham ultimatum, whispered the Witcher. Run free. What? Caldemain. The marketplace. What? She deceived us. They're not leaving. They'll force Stregobor out of his tower as they forced the Baron of Tridham's hand. Or they'll force me too. They're going to start murdering people at the market. It's a real trap. One second, guys. By the gods, where are you going? Sit down! Marilka, terrified by the shouting, huddled, keening, in the corner of the room. I told you, Libba shouted, pointing to the Witcher. I said he only brings trouble. Silence, woman! Geralt, sit down! We have to stop them. Right now, before people go to the market. And call the guards. As the gang leaves the inn, seize them and hold them. Be reasonable. We can't. We can't touch a hair on their heads if they've done nothing wrong. They'll defend themselves and there'll be bloodshed. They're professionals. They'll slaughter my people. And it'll be my head for it if word gets to Audouin. I'll gather the guards, go to the market, and keep an eye on them there. That won't achieve anything, Caldemain. If the crowd's already in the square, you can't prevent panic and slaughter. Renfrey has to be stopped right now, while the marketplace is empty. It's illegal. I can't permit it. It's only a rumor the half-elf was that tried him. You could be wrong and Alduin would flame me alive. We have to take the lesser evil. Geralt, I forbid it. As alderman, I forbid it. Leave your sword. Stop. Marilka was screaming, her hands pressed over her mouth. Part 6. Shading his eyes with his hand, Serval watched the sun emerge from behind the trees. The marketplace was coming to life. Wagons and carts rumbled past and the first vendors were already filling their stalls. A hammer was banging, a cock crowing, and seagulls screeched loudly overhead. Looks like a lovely day, 15 said pensively. Serval looked at him askance but didn't say anything. The horses all right, Tavik? Asked Nohorn, pulling on his glove. Saddled and ready, but there's still not many of them in the marketplace. There'll be more. We should eat. Later. Dead right. You'll have time later, and an appetite. Look, said 15 suddenly. The Witcher was approaching from the main street, walking between stalls, coming straight towards them. Renfri was right, Serval said. Give me the crossbow, Nohorn. He hunched over and, holding the strap down with his foot, pulled the string back. He placed the bolt carefully in the groove as the Witcher continued to approach. Serval raised the crossbow. Not one step closer, Witcher! Geralt stopped about 40 paces from the group. Where's Renfri? The half-blood's pretty face contorted. At the tower? She's making the sorcerer an offer he can't refuse. But she knew you would come. She left a message for you. Speak. I am what I am. Choose. Either me or a lesser. You're supposed to know what it means. The Witcher nodded, raised his hand above his right shoulder, and drew his sword. The blade traced a glistening arc above his head. Walking slowly, he made his way toward the group. Serval laughed nastily, ominously. Renfri said this would happen, Witcher, and left us something special to give you, right between the eyes. The Witcher kept walking, and the half-elf raised the crossbow to his cheek. It grew very quiet. The bowstring hummed. The Witcher's sword flashed, and the bolt flew upward with a metallic whine, spinning in the air until it clattered against the roof and rumbled into the gutter. He deflected it, groaned 15. Deflected it in flight. As one, ordered Serval. Blades hissed as they were drawn from sheaths. The group pressed shoulder to shoulder, bristling with blades. The Witcher came on faster. His fluid walk became a run, not straight at the group quivering with swords, but circling it in a tightening spiral. As Geralt circled the group, Tavik's nerve failed. He rushed the Witcher, the twins following him. Don't disperse! Serval roared, shaking his head and losing sight of the Witcher. He swore and jumped aside, seeing the group fall apart, scattering around the market stalls. Tavik went first. He was chasing the Witcher when he saw Geralt running in the opposite direction, toward him. He skidded, trying to stop, but the Witcher stopped past before he could raise his sword. Tavik felt a sharp blow just above his hip, fell to his knees, and when he saw his hip, started screaming. The twins simultaneously attacked the black, blurred shape rushing toward them, mistimed their attack and collided with each other, as Geralt slashed Veer across the chest and Nimir in the temple, leaving one twin to stagger, head down into a vegetable stall, and the other to spin in place and fall limply into the gutter. The marketplace boiled with vendors running away, stalls clattering to the ground and screams rising in the dusty air. Tavik tried to stumble to his trembling legs and fell painfully to the ground. From the left, 15! Nohorn roared, running in a semicircle to approach the Witcher from behind. 15 spun, but not quickly enough. He bore a thrust through the stomach, prepared to strike, and was struck again in the neck just below his ear. He took 4 unsteady steps and collapsed into a fish cart, which rolled away beneath him. Sliding over the slippery cargo, 15 fell onto flagstones, silver with scales. Serval and Nohorn struck simultaneously from both sides. The elf with a high sweeping cut, Nohorn from a kneeling position, low and flat. The Witcher caught both, 2 metallic clangs merging into one. Serval leapt aside and tripped, catching himself against a stall as Nohorn warded off a blow so powerful it threw him backward to his knees. Leaping up, he parried too slowly, taking a gash in the face parallel to his old scar. Serval bounced off the stall, jumping over Nohorn as he fell, missed the Witcher and jumped away. The thrust was so sharp, so precise, he didn't feel it. His legs only gave way when he tried to attack again. The sword fell from his hand, the tendon severed above the elbow. Serval fell to his knees and shook his head. trying and failing to rise. His head dropped, and among the shattered stalls and market wares, the scattered fish and cabbages, his body stilled in the center of a growing red puddle. Renfrey entered the marketplace. She approached slowly with a soft feline step, avoiding the carts and stalls. The crowd in the streets and by the houses, which had been humming like a hornet's nest, grew silent. Geralt stood motionless, his sword in his lowered hand. Renfrey came to within 10 paces and stopped. Close enough to see that, under her jacket, she wore a short coat of chainmail, barely covering her hips. "You've made your choice," she said slowly. "Are you sure it's the right one?" "This won't be another tridem," Geralt said with an effort. "It wouldn't have been. Stregobor laughed in my face. He said I could butcher Blaviken and the neighboring villages and he wouldn't leave his tower. He won't let anyone in, not even you." "Why are you looking at me like that?" "Yes, I deceived you. I'll deceive anyone if I have to. Why should you be so special?" "Get out of here, Renfrey." She laughed. "No, Geralt." She drew her sword quickly and nimbly. "Renfrey, no! You made a choice, now it's my turn." With one sharp move, she tore the skirt from her hips and spun it in the air, wrapping the material around her forearm. Geralt retreated and raised his hand, arranging his fingers in the sign. Renfrey laughed hoarsely. "It doesn't affect me. Only the sword will." "Renfrey," he repeated. "Go. If we cross blades, I won't be able—" "I know," she said, "but I can't do anything else. I just can't. We are what we are, you and I." She moved toward him with a light swing step, her sword glinting in her right hand, her skirt dragging along the ground from her left. She leapt. The skirt fluttered in the air, and veiled in its tracks, the sword flashed in a short parrying cut. Geralt jumped away. The cloth didn't even brush him, and Renfrey's blade slid over his diagonal parry. He attacked instinctively, spinning their blades, trying to knock her weapon aside. It was a mistake. She deflected his blade and slashed, aiming for his face. He barely parried and pirouetted away, dodging her dancing blade and jumping aside again. She fell on him, threw the skirt into his eyes, and slashed flatly from the short range, spinning. Spinning with her, he avoided the blow. He knew the trick and turned with him. She knew the trick and turned with him, their bodies so close he could feel the touch of her breath as she ran the edge across his chest. He felt a twinge of pain, ignored it. He turned again in the opposite direction, deflected the blade flying toward his temple, made a swift feint, and attacked. Renfrey sprang away as if to strike from above as Geralt lunged, and swiftly slashed her exposed thigh and groin from below with the very tip of his sword. She didn't cry out. Falling to her side, she dropped her sword and clutched her thigh. Blood poured through her fingers in a bright stream over her decorated belt, elk leather boots, and onto the dirty flagstones. The clamor of the swaying crowd, crammed in the suite, grew as they saw blood. Geralt put up his sword. "Don't go," she moaned, curling up in a ball. He didn't reply. "I'm cold." He said nothing. Renfrey moaned again, curling up tighter as her blood flowed into the cracks between the stones. "Geralt, hold me." The Witcher remained silent. She turned her head, resting her cheeks on the flagstone, and was still. A fine dagger, hidden beneath her body until now, slipped from her numb fingers. After a long moment, the Witcher raised his head, hearing Stregobor's staff tapping against the flagstones. The wizard was approaching quickly, avoiding the corpses. "What slaughter!" he panted. "I saw it, Geralt. I saw it all in my crystal ball." He came closer, bent over. In his trailing black robe, supported by his staff, he looked old. "It's incredible!" He shook his head. "Shrike's dead." Geralt didn't reply. "Well, Geralt," the wizard straightened himself. "Fetch a cart and we'll take her to the tower for an autopsy." He looked at the Witcher and, not getting any answer, leaned over the body. Someone the Witcher didn't know found the hilt of his sword and drew it. "Touch a single hair of her head," said the person the Witcher didn't know. "Touch her head and yours will go flying to the flagstones." "Have you gone mad? You're wounded and in shock. An autopsy is the only way we can confirm—" "Don't touch her!" Stregobor, seeing the raised blade, jumped aside and waved his staff. "All right," he shouted, "as you wish. But you'll never know, you'll never be sure. Never, do you hear, Witcher? Be gone." "As you wish." The wizard turned away, his staff hitting the flagstones. "I'm returning to Kovir. I'm not staying in this hole another day. Come with me rather than rot here. These people don't know anything, they've only seen you killing. And you kill nastily, Geralt. Well, are you coming? Geralt didn't reply. He wasn't looking at him. He put his sword away. Stregobor shrugged and walked away, his staff tapping rhythmically against the ground. A stone came flying from the crowd and clattered against the flagstones. A second followed, whizzing past just above Geralt's shoulder. The Witcher, holding himself straight, raised both hands and made a swift gesture with them. The crowd heaved. The stones came flying more thickly, but the sign, protecting him from behind an invisible oval shield, pushed them aside. Enough! Yelled Quatermain. Bloody hell, enough of that! The crowd roared like a surge of breakers, but the stones stopped flying. The Witcher stood, motionless. The alderman approached him. Is this, he said with a broad gesture, indicating the motionless body strewn across the square, how your lesser evil looks? Is this what you believe necessary? Yes, replied Geralt slowly, with an effort. Is your wound serious? No. In that case, get out of here. Yes, said the Witcher. He stood a moment longer, avoiding the alderman's eyes. Then he turned away slowly, very slowly. Geralt. The Witcher looked around. Don't come back, said Quatermain. Never come back. That's it. That's it for today. We'll start up on chapter 4 next time. I hope you guys all had a wonderful, wonderful time.